Good morning. While the last few people filter in, I'm just going to get started so that we have as much time as possible at the end for specific questions. Welcome, everyone, to Recycling 101, What's In, What's Out, and Why. I'm Mickey Porta. I'm a volunteer with Planet New Canaan, and we're really pleased to be partnering with the town of New Canaan to bring this program to you. So why are we doing this now? Because recycling has been going on for a very long time. We know it's good for the planet. Why is the town getting behind this so much right now? And the answer is money. Our budget is stretched very, very thin, and while recycling does cost money, garbage costs more money. So today, we have brought a panel of experts, people whose knowledge covers all different spectrums of the recycling food chain, to talk to us about how to get recycling right, because it's really, really important that we do this. Just to give you an idea of perspective, one municipality in Florida, well, the Orlando district since 2016 has saved $1.3 million because they managed to educate their citizens and finally get recycling right. So that's what we're going to try to do here today. We're going to have three main speakers. The first is Jennifer Heaton-Jones. Let me get her title right. Jennifer is the Executive Director of the Housatonic Resources Recovery Authority, and she's going to give us the big picture on recycling, what's in, what's out, and why. And then Tiger Mann, Director of Public Works here in New Canaan, will break that down for us and talk about specifically what is happening and what needs to happen in New Canaan. And at the end, we're going to have Mike Farrow from City Carding. Mike, let me get your title right, Mike. Mike is the Transfer and Recycling Center Manager. He's going to talk to us about the haulers and what they do and what their responsibility is. And after the three speakers have given us information, we're just going to assemble up here on the stage. We actually have two more people from City Carding with us, too. We have Jay Greco, Operations Manager, and Patricia Swope, their social media coordinator. And we're going to have a Q&A with the audience, and we're also going to play a little game called What's In, What's Out. So we're going to actually hold up garbage, and you, the audience, will tell us if it's in or out, and the panelists can either or ding, and we'll keep it short. We really want to keep it moving and have time for questions. So with that, Jennifer.
And the clicker's working? Okay. Good morning. All right, so I'm going to give an overview this morning of what happens to our trash and our recycling and what can be recycled. And a lot of the items cannot be recycled. And the issue is contamination, and what does contamination really mean? We'll get into that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about glass because I was asked to. There's some issues with glass, plastic bags in the mixed stream. And most importantly, we will review the new Universal Recycling Guide, What's In, What's Out. And I'm going to multitask here. Okay, mixed recycling. I wish it all looked like that, but it doesn't when it goes to the MRF. But before we talk about that, we should go in your bin, and I would say that we would be doing a disservice if I didn't mention, really before we even think about that, we should be thinking about waste reduction and reuse. So really, it's too bad that we have to talk about recycling to some degree and what's contamination and what's not. We really should be talking about waste reduction and really focusing on how do we reduce what we're producing and creating and putting into our environment. And it is just as important to talk about the material management aspect of it. But we do need to learn how to borrow and lend and rent items, especially when they're one-time use. And I think that's a mindset and a cultural change that we need to get into, leaving from that single-use, convenient aspect of everything every day, but moving towards a more sustainable practice, like using cloth napkins every day. It's not so hard. Stop buying paper napkins, use cloth napkins. It doesn't take much more to wash them when you're washing the rest of your load of laundry. Reusable bags versus single-use bags, any kind, paper or plastic. Reusable beverage containers versus plastic bottles or styrofoam containers, which, by the way, styrofoam is not recyclable. Or it is recyclable. See, these are the things that will confuse people. It can be recycled, but we don't have an outlet for it, so it can't go in your blue bin. So therefore, it's a waste. So we really should be using reusable beverage containers. And single stream, what we've been calling it, is really now referred to as mixed residential recycling. We switched the verbiage because a lot of folks were getting confused with, oh, single stream means I can put garbage and recycling into one container, and that's not the case. So we're just mixing our recycling. We're not single streaming all material. And, mixed recycling, single stream came to effect in Connecticut around 2013 because of its convenience. And single stream can work. It does work. And there's a lot of value in it. And some say we should have never gone to single stream because there was more value when it was source separated. But we do have it, and because we have it, we need to learn to do it right. And that's what we're going to learn today, how to do it right. And it's only the material that should go in the bin that makes it right. So I'm curious if anyone knows actually where your recycling goes. Anyone know? It goes to the dump? The recycling goes to the dump? So after it leaves your curb, where does it go? It goes to a transfer station. And then do you know where it goes from the transfer station? City carting, and what is that? Do you know what it is? It's a material recovery facility, a MRF. So that's the place where ultimately the recycling goes to be baled, and the ultimate goal is to have it be sold as a commodity, to be sold, processed, and made into a new product. And recycling doesn't mean just putting all that stuff at your curb. It means after it's been processed and someone's purchased it, the next time you go to the store, look at the content of what your product's being made out of. Is there any post-consumer material that it's made out of? Then you're actually recycling. Just putting it in your bin doesn't mean you're recycling. You're recycling when you buy the product again, and we keep the loop going. And it keeps city carting in business and the rest of our MRFs. So the truth is mixed recycling is typically dirty. It's bagged, and it's mixed with a lot of unacceptable material. I don't know if you can see well in this photo, but there's garbage bags, there's a yellow rubber hose, a lot of garbage. It doesn't look as pretty as that first picture. And that's really what typically we're finding. Not all MRFs experience this because it depends on what community the material is coming from. Some more urban communities have much more contamination than maybe some of our more affluent communities in the state of Connecticut. But in general, most of the time when I go to a MRF and visit it, that's usually what I see. So why? Why do we have so much contamination? A cushion should not go in the single stream mixed recycling. We have really 4 reasons why we have contamination. Simple non-compliance. Those are the folks who blatantly, they're just bad. And they pretty much have no intentions on recycling. They use their other recycling cart for a trash can. We have the believers, and we might have a lot of believers in this room. Some that think virtually everything is recyclable. We have the hopefuls, those who think that this should be recyclable, so they put it in their bin. And the root specific issues, contamination is seen as some because of transient issues that more in urban areas where it's folks are moving and flipping, and there's some maybe language barriers. So we have those types of issues throughout the state. So we have a lot of work to do. So this is actually an up-close image of a glass pile, and everyone always asks, what about prescription bottles? Why are they out? They're out because they often don't get captured in the material recovery facility. or bottle caps, or shredded paper, or bottles, or any other little small bits, anything under 2 inches really should not go in your mixed recycling bin. They don't belong. And shredded paper, it's on the out, and again, we'll go over the full list in a moment, but I just wanted to give you some visuals before we go over the list. This is part of the glass pile. What happens to glass, shredded paper gets caught in it, and it doesn't get recycled. It ends up being residual waste. And this pile, can you guess what it is? Glass. So this is a pile of glass, glass that's sent to a MRF. So it's via mixed recycling. I'm only going to give a brief overview in consideration of the time, because glass is a complex issue. It's very recyclable. It costs a lot less to recycle glass from recycled glass, bottled glass, source-separated glass to another bottled glass. It takes less energy to melt a bottle to a bottle than it does to use raw material. What's the problem? I consider it as a collection issue. I mean, there are some facilities, like I know City Carting can handle the glass. This is where our material in our region goes. So the HRA is 11 municipalities in Western Connecticut. My most southern towns are Ridgefield and Reading. The MRF this is actually a picture of the material where our material goes to, the MRF in Shelton. They don't have the same process that City Carting has, and most MRFs don't. Most of the MRFs in the state of Connecticut, the glass looks like that, and it ends up going to landfill as alternate daily cover. At the end of the day, a landfill has to, when it closes, it has to cover their landfill. They use either a soil base or they use an alternate daily cover, and this is an alternate daily cover. So unless your town is willing to invest, which often it's just not financially sustainable to set up a source-separated collection for glass, this is what's going to continue to happen to it. So what would be the alternative? Expanding our bottle bill in the state of Connecticut. If we expand our bottle bill in the state of Connecticut, and we're looking at language right now, and we included wine bottles and other liquor spirit bottles, which is mostly 60% of the glass is from wine and liquor, we could reduce this. It'd be source separated through a deposit system. You would get your deposit back, and it would truly be a very efficient way. We are fighting the legislation, so the only way that it will happen is that folks will write to their state representatives, especially if they're on the Environment Committee, and tell them that you support an expansion of the bottle bill. Because if we're truly going to recycle right, we need to look at all of the aspects and all of the streams of the recycling system and say, doing nothing is not an answer. Finding solutions like expanding the bottle bill will help us, or this is what's going to continue to happen. And believe me, if you as a constituent writes to your state rep, they will listen, because you will ultimately decide if they get to continue to be a state rep or not. Okay, more contamination. Propane tanks, cement blocks. Do you guys see these in your MRF? Yes, they don't belong. They're dangerous. If there's still propane, haulers have fires in their trucks because folks think, oh, it's metal, I can put it in my bin. No, it doesn't belong. You can bring it to a facility like Leahy's or Mitchell Oil. There's other companies that will take your propane tanks. Sometimes you have to pay $5. I don't know if you're a hazardous waste facility. At your hazardous waste events for New Canaan, they will take your propane tanks. They do not belong in your single stream, and neither does cement. These are tangles, cords, anything that's a cord does not belong. It gets caught into the material recovery facilities system and ends up being thrown away. They do not belong. Dead plants shouldn't be delivered to a MRF. This is on the line of the material recovery facility in Shelton. It's out. And this is plastic bags. So this is what happens to plastic bags. This is the V-screen separator at the front end of the MRF. And every 3 to 4 hours, the MRF has to shut down to have the men manually cut it out with box cutters. And then ultimately, it becomes residual waste. and it's not recycled. The most efficient way to recycle plastic bags and film is return to retail. So every time you go back to the grocery store, you can return it. I hope everyone's using a reusable bag, but you still have other plastic film, dry cleaner bags, bread bags, Ziploc bags, the plastic wrap around your case of water. That's all recyclable. Don't send it to the MRF. Do not put it in your blue bin. It doesn't belong in the mixed recycling. Return to retail. And there's cards on the table on what can be recycled as plastic bags and film. So the ultimate goal is to produce this clean, valuable material to be manufactured, and that's what it looks like at the back end of the MRF after it's been baled. And so what makes something recyclable? Basically, is there enough of it, and does it have value to be sold as a commodity? So not everything in this picture is recyclable. That light bulb is trash. The styrofoam egg carton is trash. It's styrofoam. If it was cardboard, it would be recyclable. So just because it's made of paper or plastic or glass doesn't necessarily mean that it's recyclable. And it's important to understand what glass is recyclable in your mixed recycling, and we'll go through glass too, because if you put the wrong glass in, you've also contaminated the mixed recycling stream. So let's talk about the Universal Recycling Guide. And maybe, can I have a time check? So paper, let's talk about paper. We'll talk about what's in first. That's the top part. And I don't know if everyone received, okay, great. I don't know if everyone has, these flyers are on the back table. Hopefully you all grabbed one. And if not, grab one on your way out. You can go to recyclect.com and print this flyer. So what happened was a lot of the material recovery facilities, representatives from them came to Connecticut Deep, and they sat down in a room and said, okay, guys, what will you take, what won't you take? Let's create a universal list so that we can educate the public on what can and can't go in your bin, and we can have a true, clean, consistent message that we're giving everyone. And so this is what the material recovery facilities unifiedly decided that they would take. So cardboard and boxboard, it's a fiber, highly recyclable. It has value. It's in. Food and beverage cartons, that means like a milk carton, the chicken stock carton. It's an aseptic container. It has orange juice in it. That's a carton. It's acceptable. Junk mail, magazines, newspapers, newsprint, office papers, very has a nice value, very recyclable. And pizza boxes are in. For a long time, we were told they were out. They are in. No food. We just want the box. We don't want the pizza, just the box, not the liner. And don't forget to take the knife out or the pizza cutter. Just the pizza box. So those are all things that are in. It's okay. What's out? Gift wrap and gift bags. Why? They're not all made the same. One, they're not all consistent. Sometimes they have sparkles and stickers and glue and all things attached to it. So universally, they had to decide, what is the value? Can I bail this and sell it and make money off of it? No. So it's out, because not all gift wrap is paper, it's foil. So if it's gift wrap or gift bags, out. But what you can do, reuse it. Ice cream containers, out. Believe it or not, it's not the same fiber. It's not doesn't have the same makeup, and so it's therefore it can't be sold to be made into something new. It's not the same material as the milk carton. It maybe feels the same, but it's not. Paper cups, hot and cold, out. Again, it's all about what it's made of, the fibers, the plastic, the layers. It's out. Shredded paper is out. I showed you the picture. Mostly because consistently in most material recovery facilities, it can't be captured. And so the message is source separate, recycle it separate. I have an asterisk on my slide because in our towns, we collect it separate. And then our material recovery facility takes it and sells it as a commodity because it's office paper. It has value. It just can't go through the material recovery facility to be captured efficiently. I understand that city carding can handle it, but it's still on the out because we want to keep it source separated. Take out food containers, out. Most of the time there are 7, they're black container, and it doesn't have the same value, so it's out. And tissue paper, out, for the same reason that our gift wrap and our gift bags, and it's also the consistency of the fiber. So it's not recyclable. Glass, okay, glass. Not everything that's glass, that you think is glass, is recyclable. The only thing that's in for glass is if it was a vessel that you purchased that contained food and beverage. Think of it that way. Is it a jar? Is it a bottle? Did it have liquid in it that you could consume, food that you can consume, and therefore it's recyclable? So, and it's that simple, because there's a lot of other things that people think that they can recycle it. Ceramic mugs, it's ceramic. It's not glass. It's a ceramic mug. Dishes are not glass. They're porcelain or ceramic. It's out. Drinking glasses are not the same glass makeup as a bottle. It heats at a different rate. It melts at a different rate. It's out. So if you break a wine glass, heaven forbid, you throw it away. You don't put it in your recycling. It goes in the trash. Light bulbs, mirrors, window pane, window glass, all out. So Pyrex dish, out if you break it. It doesn't belong. The only thing that is glass that goes in your mixed recycling is bottles and jars. If you purchased it at the store and it came with a lid, it is recyclable. Did I make myself clear? I'm very passionate about the issue with glass. All right, metal, aerosol containers, food grade, whipped cream, olive oil spray. What else comes in an aerosol can that's food grade? Anything that that food came in it, you can recycle that. It's not dangerous. It should still be empty. Aluminum foil, cans, bottles, foil containers, metal lids from cans and bottles are all in. Very recyclable. What's out? Aerosol containers like deodorizers, cleaners, paint. It's not, because of it could be still pressurized. It's dangerous. The MRFs don't want it. Foil tops from your yogurt container. I know, it's foil. It's like, why? The size. It comes down to the size. It doesn't usually get captured. It ends up in that pile like the glass. Paint cans, out. What can you do with a paint can, though? If you have dried paint, first of all, if you have liquid paint, you can recycle it at a participating retailer or your hazardous waste event. We have a paint care program in the state of Connecticut, a stewardship program. If it's empty, and it's latex, you can peel the latex out and take the can to your transfer station for the scrap metal. So it can be recycled, but it can't go in your mixed recycling bin. Do not put it in your mixed recycling bin. Otherwise, put it in your garbage. But do not put it in your garbage if it has liquid paint in it. Your garbage hauler will not be very happy. Pots and pans are out. Scrap metal, you can take it to your transfer station for scrap. Small pieces of scrap metal, same thing. And spiral wound containers. What is that? Anyone know? The cinnamon rolls you buy in the refrigerator aisle, and you hit it on the counter, and it spins open, spiral wound. I always want to say bound. Peanut container is a spiral wound container with a metal lid. So it's metal and cardboard attached to itself, and so it ends up in the material recovery facility. There are magnets that pull the metals out. Eddy currents push the aluminum, and what ends up happening with most spiral wound containers, they end up getting stuck with the metal because of the magnet. So they are out. Let's see. Plastic. So plastic bottles with and without caps attach. So they'll take the bottle, whether it has a cap or not on it, if that makes sense. So we're only talking about the bottle right now. I'll talk about caps in a second. Plastic containers, tubs, and lids. Butter container, whipped cream container, things that you've purchased that are a tub, they'll take, and the lid. And plastic one-use cups like a Solo cup. No straws. Straws are bad. They don't make it through the system. They just become residual waste. They're not recyclable. Better off don't use them. Loose bottle caps are out. Why? Because it can't get captured. It falls through the system and ends up basically being caught in that glass pile. So if you want to recycle your bottle cap, put it back on the bottle. So empty the bottle, put the cap back on, and I always say give the cap a ride. with the bottle. Otherwise, it will get lost. Plastic bags and wrap out. We already went over that. Return to retail. Plastic plates, bowls, and utensils out. Most of them they're all made differently, so it's a commodity issue, but also utensils don't often get captured. They fall through the cracks. Prescription bottles, I think I explained and showed you. Single-use coffee containers, those are like K-cups. K-cups are out. Styrofoam cups and containers, if it's styrofoam, it's out. And water filters. I always thought that was an odd one that they added on the list, but they're out. Maybe there's a lot of people who think water filters are recyclable, but they're out. Okay, so recycling is simple. Only put in the items that are in the in category, what's in. Items should be loose and not bagged. And she gave me 5 minutes, so I'm ahead of schedule. So that's the What's In, What's Out campaign. Really, if you stick to it and you stick to the in, you'll be doing a great job. And when you have a question, you can always, whoever your resources in New Canaan, whether it's your transfer station operator or the material recovery facility, or recyclect.com, they have a widget. If you go on their recycling, on their website, they have a tool that you can put in the recycling items, and it will tell you if it's in or it's out. They are working to update it to tell you why, so that you understand why it's in or it's out. So I really encourage you to utilize the resources. And there was a release yesterday from CBS News. If you haven't seen it, it's great. 6 minutes long. It's well worth watching it. It truly is the saying, when in doubt, throw it out, because you're only going to contaminate the rest of the load and create issues on the back end. So if it's not on the list, don't put it in. If you're in doubt, throw it out. If you really want to know, ask somebody who can give you the answer. So thank you.
Okay, so now here comes Tiger Man.
Fantastic. Wow. How's everybody? First of all, thank you very much for coming. We very much appreciate it. We'd like to thank the library, Planet New Canaan, and others that are helping us with this, especially the people who came, Jennifer, and the people from City Carting. So my task today is to basically tell you what are we doing in the town of New Canaan. All right, so I'll give you 10 minutes of an overview of how we're doing or what we're doing and why we're doing it. So every 2 years we go out for a recycling bid. That's one of the things we have to do. This past July, we went out knowing what the world markets were going to be like. We were actually receiving money from our recycling at about $35 a ton or so, as far as how much money we were getting as a commodity for it. And then we went out to bid, and lo and behold, the numbers reversed on us. So instead of making money, we were going to be paying money. So being the dutiful steward, we said, well, let's take a look at it again. We'll go back out and we'll rebid it and see what happens if we can go back out into the market again. We went out and rebid it, and the exact same thing happened. Okay, so we were looking at where we were making money before. We were then going to be now spending money to the tune of around $160,000 a year. Okay, so when I went to the Board of Finance to say, hi, we have a problem, they basically said to me, well, you need to get ahead of it, and we want you to go to the schools. We want you to go to all 3 elementary schools, middle school, the high school, and then talk to the populace and tell them what's going on. So then Mickey was very, very nice and said, I'll sit down and we can figure this thing out together and try to at least increase our awareness, all right, as far as what's going on and why. Because now, not that we're not making any money anymore, now it's costing us money. It's costing us a good amount of money for the size of the municipality that we have. And it really comes down to the fact that we're, as Jennifer said, it's kind of a global market, right? So even if our stuff comes out perfectly clean, if we don't have a market for it because it gets contaminated elsewhere, we still pay. So where are we with the transfer station? Believe it or not, back in the 40s, it was an incinerator. Up until about 1996, we were an incinerator. We had an old incinerator in 71. They built another one. And then in 96, we got a mandate from the DEP that said, you got to close her down. All right, so they shut it down. One day we were actually burning trash. The next day we were transferring trash, that fast. So we built a transfer station in 1998. We opened the station. So we've been working out of that station for the past 20 years or so. and I think we've been doing quite well. Our annual budget is around $1.6 million. We bring in around $650,000 in revenue. Okay, so there's a little bit of a delta as far as how much we're paying for the transfer station. It doesn't pay for itself. What we handle around 6,000 tons of garbage a year. We figure that's about 1.5 tons per resident or per household per year. That's about what we handle. We handle construction debris and yard waste. We do not handle grass clippings. Grass clippings, according to the DEP, should be managed on site, meaning that you should have your landscaper or whoever mulch them on site. Don't bring them to us because they're not compostable. All right, what we can't do, we can't use them. We also have a whole leaf facility process that you know about that we do every fall. That's run by the Highway Department and run out of Lapham Center or outside of Waveney Care. And we do a very nice job through there. But please don't bring your leaves to us because they need to be composted in towns elsewhere. And then we get down to our recyclables. We recycle scrap metal, electronics, all types of electronics can be brought to the transfer station, and then we actually sell them back off again to around 2 cents a pound we get for electronics. Scrap metal, we go out for a bid every year. We get a market price for that, so you can bring your scrap metals to us. Your white goods, your refrigerators, your washing machines, what have you, air conditioners, we don't charge you to bring them to us. There's a small charge for us to get rid of the Freon, and then we actually put it into the scrap metal and get some money back for that. Clothing, we're working with Canaan to try to change right now we only accept clothing. We're actually working with a new vendor so that we can accept clothing, linens, and shoes, so we can take a little bit more out of the waste stream, so to speak. We take car batteries. We started just taking plastic wrap and film, so we place the container here at the library. We have 3 containers at the transfer station, and we just placed one at South School. We've been working with South School's got an excellent sustainability program there. We're working with the other schools to try to increase their awareness. There's a scout, his name is Cole Schubert. He's out working very digitally, speaking to all the different schools about increasing their recycling there, and we'll be putting plastic film containers there so you can actually have your kids bring it to school, and then they can be recycled there. We take car batteries and we take propane tanks, so they don't have to go to the MRF. We take the propane tank for you. We charge nothing for them. We actually have to pay a fee for them to leave from us, but we will take them from you so that they don't wind up in the waste stream and they don't become a hazard, specifically for the haulers. We take paint, we take waste oil and antifreeze, no charge for those either. We take tires. Mattresses right now we do not recycle. We will take the mattresses, but they are handled inside our construction debris. All right. The problem with a mattress is, 1, we don't have a place to store them, and then 2, it's a very, very difficult thing to handle, if you can imagine. All right. So it winds up being we don't have the handling capability, and then we don't have a place to store them since they have to be stored outside the elements. If you've been to our transfer station, it's a very, very small facility. And the old incinerator actually uses our salt dome. So while we had asked for a salt dome, it had gotten cut out of the budget, and they told us to use the old incinerator floor, so we actually use that. It's the only salt dome in Connecticut where you can't dump a truck a load of salt inside it. You have to dump it outside and then push it onto it. That's a whole different story, though. That's another argument. And then we also do an annual household hazardous waste day. So we do one in town. It's usually in the summertime months. We post it in the paper quite frequently to let everyone know what's happening, and then we sister with about 6 or 7 towns in our region. Let's say Ridgefield, Westport, Weston. You can go to them and get rid of your household hazardous waste for free. All right, they will charge us back for it, but you're not charged anything. You bring it to us, you're not charged for it either. All we want to do is try to get it out of the waste stream and get it out of the waste stream safely. And the only other thing I have to say is that a couple of recent changes that we made, we talked about the plastic film and the clothing, linen, and shoes, and we're still under review as far as whether or not we can install a swap shop. We're going to go talk to Darien and see what they're doing, how they're doing it successfully. Right now, we're running into a problem as far as just overall space at our station. You know, if you come to our station regularly, you'll see that it not only houses a transfer station, but it also houses the wastewater plant and the highway garage. So we have 3 different entities working out of the same facility, and we're a little bit crammed as far as space. We can't necessarily utilize the entire landfill area since it's been capped. It has a DEP special permit associated with it, so we can't necessarily put things on top of that as well since there's a liner underneath it, and that liner could be compromised. If that liner is compromised, then we have a lot more problems associated with that. And then the last thing is we're looking at trying to assist her with curbside composting to try to bring in food composting into town. They're already here. They're doing certain areas in town, or certain residents are actually utilizing them. We're trying to get them at South School, and then we're trying to see if we can't bring them into our transfer station and have you be able to bring your food compost to us, and then we can take that out of the waste stream as well. I think I'm probably ahead of time, but I don't know if there's, I don't think there's anything that I missed. If there are any questions at any point in time, either now or later, give me 1 second. Our office is always open. You go on the website, my phone number is there, my email address is there. You can email me 24/7. We are on call 24/7, 365, not only for your questions, but for your service. So anything that you have doesn't have to end here, and there is no question that is unwarranted or necessarily, I would say, I don't want to use the word stupid, but stupid, you know? It's all right. The only stupid question is the one that is not asked. So you can ask, you know, oh, you want us to do that? That's perfectly fine. Then I get to bring it to him? That's all right. Thank you very much.
So now we have Mike Farrow from City. Just hold your questions till the end, if you could just jot it down, because then we're going to have all of them up here to answer. This is Mike Farrow from City Carting.
Good morning. My name is Michael Farrow. I currently manage the MRF for City Carting in Stamford, Connecticut. So the majority of Lower Fairfield County recycling ultimately comes to me personally. I manage that facility, and I also market the material, the finished product. So just a little oversight on the facility. We opened up about 5 years ago, and we process approximately 10,000 tons per month pretty consistently. And as most of you have seen over the past 5 years, the recycling landscape has changed drastically. Big variable was about 2.5 years ago, China basically stepped out of the market. They were the largest consumer of recycled fiber basically in the world. They had some regulations come in place, and they actually stopped accepting almost all of the recycled fiber that was going to their country. So about a year ago, we had some big hurdles, looking for some new end markets. We had a few different countries step into play. India, Indonesia, we have some domestic mills that are in place now today. They're collecting material. But what's done, it's basically crushed the economics on the recycling market. So the What's In, What's Out campaigns come into place. You guys have done a great job, and the state of Connecticut DEP has also done a great job in cleaning the product up. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, some of you may have been to the facility, walked through the place, came on a tour. We do that pretty frequently. You know, about 25 guys working on a line. We had about $10 million in capital equipment investment in 2014. And over the past 2 years, about another $1.5 million in upgrades just to try to stay relevant and sustainable in the recycling market. And ultimately, the material's value after being processed is virtually zero. So, you know, we're paying approximately $60 per ton to process that material. We do end up with about 13 different grades of material. And at the end of the day, 70% of that product is actually costing us dollars to ship off and be recycled. Now, the main thing is there's a misconception. You know, there's a lot of articles being published, and the people see that it's changed from a rebate to a charge, and they get confused and think the material is being thrown away. The material is actually being recycled. So these end market users are still taking this material, you know, processing it into more fiber or cardboard boxes of that nature. It's just the economics behind it has put us in the position where we are, where we used to be able to give the town of New Canaan a rebate for the material, but now we have to pass along that processing cost to stay sustainable and be able to keep recycling the material. As far as on the hauling side, you know, some of the issues that we see there is getting consistent, good information out to the customers. You know, the What's In, What's Out campaign, you know, put a good benchmark out there, but we still, like Jennifer was saying, I probably get 2 to 3 emails a week of people that are confused on what's supposed to be in and what's supposed to be out. So that's one hurdle that we see, is trying to get accurate, consistent information out to the people. And the second portion is you know, getting the facts out there that, you know, the recycling market for the foreseeable future has changed, and it's going to be a cost to, you know, to the customers, the municipalities to keep recycling this material. Like Tiger was saying, it's, you know, it's better than putting it in the trash. It's cheaper, and it is still being recycled, but relaying that information out to the people has been one of the hurdles that we've, you know, come across in our business. Some options that, you know, we're seeing other towns come across. I know there was a huge crisis out in like Long Island, New York. A couple of these towns actually switched back to dual stream to make that fiber more attractive for end users and keep those costs down. So we're seeing that. A couple more things we're seeing is people that are keeping stuff source separated. So if you have cardboard coming into your station that's source separated, instead of commingling that in the pile, keeping that separate, we divert it out of the processing system, push it directly into the baler, and it becomes more valuable. So there's options like that that are available. You know, we're willing to work with everyone, the municipalities, to, you know, try to maximize the potential for them. And the main thing, like Jennifer was saying, is reduce and reuse. I mean, I run the MRF, and I'm telling you, I use porcelain plates at home and wash them, glasses, and hand towels. You know, the main thing is, if you could stop that waste in the, you know, up front, it'll help you guys in the back end. So those are some of the things that we're seeing, and I'll be happy to answer some questions for you guys when we're done.
Okay, why don't you just move right over here? Now we're gonna have all our panelists come up and sit here. Okay, so while we get organized here with our panelists and the mics, we're just gonna, this is a plastic top to a peanut butter jar. Has a little bit of peanut butter on it. I don't know if you can see. And it has a number 5 in a triangle. Is this in or out? This came on a food jar. It's plastic. It has a triangle with a 5 inside it. What's the verdict? In? Out? Okay.
If it's on the jar, it's in.
Okay.
If it's on the jar, it's
Oh.
in.
Okay, so this is too small.
Yes. So it's, I know.
This is
where
too
it's like,
small
if it's
by itself.
I would consider that too small by itself. Would you agree? I mean, he's the MRF expert, but
Yeah, city carding. Okay, and if it's off the jar, so if it's on the jar, it's in. If it's off the jar, this is too small, it's out. So it goes in the trash bag. Okay, here's a pizza box. It's in, even when it's dirty?
yes, even if it has a little grease.
Okay. Okay, here's a takeout coffee cup with a plastic top. It's out. Okay, here's a carton, little beverage carton, and it has the top on it. Okay, what is this? Here's a cardboard box with tissue paper and plastic around it. Obviously, some kind of gift came in this. In or out? Okay, so Jay says if you separate the cardboard, okay? So is this in or out?
Out.
Out.
Both.
That's out.
So let me,
Can this plastic film be put in the?
out.
Okay.
So here's a key element about plastic bags and film and what's recyclable in the return to retail. If it's a bag that stretches, think about a grocery bag, a dry cleaner bag, a Ziploc bag. Think about the texture of it. It stretches. It is a different kind of polymer, so that's recyclable. If it crinkles, it's out. So, and those cards that talk about the plastic film return to retail tell you what's in and what's out for plastic film. But if it crinkles, that's the first giveaway. It's out.
Okay, so here, some items that say can be recycled in some locations, check website. These Amazon bubble envelopes have that. In or out?
Out.
Out.
Out. Okay, shampoo? In or out?
In.
And
Okay, here. These things that come in all the Amazon, is this in or out?
Out.
out.
Return to retail. Pop it, or here's another alternative: reuse by taking it to a shipping company that does like UPS. It's a mom and pop shipping company, they'll reuse it, especially at Christmas time. They love the packaging.
But if you pop these and they get flat, can these go, Tiger, in the ones at the transfer station, that plastic bag receptacle?
Yes, let's return to retail.
So if you pop these, so that they don't take up space, and then you can put them at I don't know if you're familiar with the transfer station, at the end of like where they have the dumpsters, you can put plastic bags and the, plastic stuff. This can go in New Canaan. Okay, olive oil. In. Junk mail.
In.
You know what? I can't find the envelopes that have the film, the junk mail with the little kind of cellophane. Is that in or out?
They're in. Plastic window envelopes are good.
Plastic window envelopes are in. Okay. So now we're going to turn it over to audience Q&A. That was fun. Thanks, guys, for cleaning up our garbage. We're going to have a couple of volunteers running with microphones to take your questions because this is being filmed for Channel 79, so we need to speak into the microphones so that they can pick up the question. Okay. Question? Julie, there's a question right there. Oh. Okay. Or I can repeat the question if you want. What's your question?
Well, I have a number of questions for you.
All right, let's start with one.
I gather from that the plastic opener on a milk container, it's okay to recycle that.
The plastic opener on a milk container needs to be on the milk container in order to be recyclable. If it's loose, it's out.
Are you talking about the pull tab?
No, I'm talking about when I go to an orange juice and
This. You're talking about this.
If the top is on, it is recyclable. The pull tab is garbage.
dirty peanut butter jar is not recyclable.
The dirty peanut butter jar, is it recyclable?
The peanut butter jar is in, and please rinse out the peanut butter. And you can use really hot water from when you're washing your dishes and a little soap and put the top on and shake it. I actually did it this morning. And if you still have room in your dishwasher and you're already running your dishwasher, throw it in there. But we want the any residual, as much residual as you can get out. But your recyclables don't have to be clean, like you can still eat off of them, but they should be wiped out so that there's no residual. Do you agree, Mike?
Yeah, do your best. I mean, try to get as much as you can out. Typically cleaning with a knife. If you have a paper towel, at least run that through. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be completely spotless for us to recycle it.
City carting, what happens if they're dirty?
So typically what happens is we use optical sorting to sort the peanut butter jars out. And if there's a number of peanut butter in there, the weight of the jar won't be ejected and ultimately end up as residue. So you typically want those Tide bottles to be empty, the peanut butter jar to be empty, so we can use the air force to eject it out of the waste stream.
Water bottles empty.
The plastic wrap that we put over leftover food on that bowl and put in the refrigerator, and it's a little bit dirty, but not really dirty.
Is plastic wrap that goes over food recyclable, even if it's a little dirty?
It's out.
Yeah, the saran wrap is out.
Saran wrap is out.
Even that, if I take it down to, there's no, I can't take it to the plastic dump, the plastic thing.
No, they don't want it.
Can I ask why we are not, what's happening on the manufacturing, the hauler side, the distributor side of things? For example, why don't we have a regulation that prohibits aluminum covers on yogurt containers?
So what the question is, what's happening on the manufacturing side? Are manufacturers being asked to take greater responsibility for the products that the packaging they produce? Thank you.
Okay, so manufacturers, this could be an hour, but I will try to do it in 30 seconds. We do need to make manufacturers and producers more responsible for the end life of their products. How do they procure their product? What is the product packaging made out of? Is it recyclable enough? That's why we need to get away from, don't look at 1 through 7, look at the list. Is it a tub? Is it a lid? we can't mandate the manufacturers quite yet on how they and what they use for packaging. In the EU and in Canada, they have what we have packaging EPR, packaging extended producer responsibility laws, and it does in some degree change what manufacturers use, but often it also has to do with FDA and the safety of the product and that it needs to be sealed. So there's a lot of elements, but if you've ever been up at legislation to try to make anything change, whether it's plastic bags, straws, expanding the bottle bill, if we don't have constituents working with state legislation, we can't make anything happen. But you, sir, if you decide, you know, this is something that I think is really important, talk to your state legislation. Introduce, any person in this room can introduce legislation. You can ask your rep to introduce, I want foil to be taken off of the containers because it's not recyclable. And if he thinks he agrees with you or she, they might just write something. So you never know. We're looking at banning plastic straws right now.
Any more questions? Sir?
This time of year, well, all year round, we get magazines that come in very tough plastic wrapping, and also this is proxy material time.
Okay, so the plastic wrapping around those proxy materials in those magazines, is that plastic recyclable?
Oh, the plastic itself, you could return to retail.
You know, you know what I do? I cut the top off with the scissor and I use it for dog poop. Okay. Peter?
Batteries, flashlight batteries.
Are batteries recyclable?
Single-use batteries are trash. Rechargeable batteries can be recycled. Do you have a call to recycle box at your transfer station?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so you can take your rechargeable batteries to your transfer station. Some places like Best Buy, Staples have boxes. They're called, the company that takes it's called Call to Recycle. That's why I'm calling it a Call to Recycle box. Hazardous waste events, do you take them at hazardous waste?
Yes, we do.
And you can take rechargeable batteries there. Right now, single-use batteries are garbage. We tried to pass legislation 2 years ago, and we were denied to get single-use batteries as a state mandate recyclable.
Tiger and Jay, are alkaline batteries?
That's single-use.
So that actually goes in the garbage, not separate in like the battery bin at the transfer station? Okay, I didn't realize. Kohl's, someone from the audience just said you can take your single-use batteries to Kohl's and they'll take them there.
I have not heard that.
Okay. Question in the back? Great question, and that's why we have 3 people from City Carting here. People always wonder, what are the private haulers doing with my recycling and with my trash? Because sometimes they see that they've carefully sorted stuff, and then it'll get thrown in the back of the truck, and they think, why did I even bother?
So to answer that question, we've, over the past probably 2.5 years, we made an investment at City Carting to run split body trucks. So if any of you guys are ever behind them, you see they kind of look like separate hoppers. We're actually doing a recycling collection on, a left-hand side and the trash on the right-hand side. For us, there's no benefit for us to put your recycling in our trash pile. We have the MRF. Ultimately, it's going to be more cost efficient for us to recycle that material. So if you're separating that stuff at your bin, I'm giving you my word that we're taking that, collecting it, and bringing it to our MRF to recycle it.
With other haulers, though, what I could suggest for you to do is to take a look when they come to pick up your recycling to make sure that your trash and recycling aren't going in the same hopper. If they don't have a split body truck and it only has a one hopper and it's going in the one hopper, then it's being mixed. And you guys could take a look at that yourselves when they come to pick up.
Now, who enforces recycling laws? Like in places with municipal pickup, if your recycling is wrong, they won't take it. They'll leave a sticker on your bin and say, better luck next time. Not in New Canaan because we all have private haulers. So if people are leaving their recycling in bags, in plastic bags, which they should not do, right? Or just Who enforces that?
Call Connecticut Deep. There's a material management department at Deep, and if you call them and report a hauler that you absolutely know for sure, and make sure you absolutely know, because a lot of times it is a misconception because they have a split body truck, but they will send an enforcement officer to investigate. In our region, they call us, and then we work with Connecticut Deep.
But what about individuals, Jay? When you guys pick up stuff and the household is just doing it completely wrong and they don't care, can you enforce that, or does the town enforce it?
Well, certain towns do have people at their facilities to enforce it. So they actually have people on the ground when the loads are being emptied out to look through it to see if there's full bags, or if they're coming in, if it's supposed to be a trash load and it's filled with recycling mixed in with it, they will enforce it, and certain towns will fine the hauler, which in turn, it's up to the hauler to pass that fine back, to the person who has put it in. And usually it's easy to figure out because it has their addresses on it.
Their names, your junk mail's in it.
Mail on it, so it's pretty easy to figure that out.
Okay, wait, right in back. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, hi. I actually was going to ask more about what you just said. I come from Westchester, from Ossining, and we have these bins that are smaller, but at least the people who are coming to haul the recycling can see if somebody did not recycle properly. And they will actually put a sticker, and they won't take anything if there is a contamination, if something is in there that's, like a can of paint.
Yeah, well,
And
why can't we do that in New Canaan?
And here, what it is the bins. When I walk past the garbage in our community, it's so bad how people recycle. They put the styrofoam with the box and everything, and they'll throw it on the side. And I think it's just being lazy, and the bins are too big, and you can't really see what's inside. So I think that.
Do you have a question, though?
But how can that be? Wouldn't it be better if the bins were see-through? Then people would know, listen, this is.
It's a complicated, I'm not a hauler, but I do deal with 60 registered haulers on our region, and it's complicated. We have some haulers who have an automated system, so they have an arm that picks up the container and it puts it right into the truck. So a man never, or a woman, never gets out of the vehicle to actually do a spot check. Why do they have these automated systems? They're cost effective. They can have more efficient routes. They can pick up more stops in a day. In addition, it costs them less because of workers' compensation. These guys don't have to get out anymore. They don't have to lift these containers. So the haulers do not want to go backwards and do manual. We do still have some small mom and pop operations that do pick up, and they have the small 18-gallon container like the container on the stage. But it's not regulated. It's not a regulation by the state, or, you could have a local ordinance, but it's mostly because it's cost effective for the hauler.
Question?
A quick question on recycling. This time of year, we're all going to buy plants. Did I understand you correctly that the plastic pots that they come in are not recyclable? And then I have a
The
question
plastic pots for potted plants, are they recyclable or not? When we saw that dead plant image on the PowerPoint that was out, can we take the dead plant out and recycle the pot?
So the state of Connecticut DEP, they have those on the out list, but typically what we'll do if you have a collection of pots like that, if you want to bring them down to the MRF or the recycling center, we'll take them for nothing from you guys and recycle them.
Well, we're not going to go to the MRF. We're going to do them to the transfer station.
They would be treated as garbage. There's no way for us to separate at that point.
All right,
So in New Canaan, those are out.
okay. Now a question to the transfer station. For years, we had a separate bin for paper, newspapers, and cardboard, and one for cans and bottles. And at home, I still separate them in separate boxes, but when I go to the transfer station, I'm forced to dump them together. Now, isn't that like counter separating that we're going through? Why did we separate them? Why did we combine them?
So the town of New Canaan's set up for single stream recycling. So if you come there, tip your recyclings, that all gets commingled together, comes to us for processing. One of the things we were exploring, like I was saying, some of these towns, you're seeing them actually revert back to the process you're doing to make that recyclable more financially attractive for the processor. So it's not something that's completely ruled out. Like I said, the town of Brookhaven and Long Island, they actually switched back to dual stream about 2 months ago.
So maybe the town could you answer the question, why did we combine them?
It was a DEP mandate to combine as far as single streams, so we followed that mandate. We have a meeting with City Carding next week to see whether or not we can go back and either just separate glass as one constituent or separate others. But right now, everything that we're receiving at the transfer station, not necessarily the permit holder coming in to dump, but everything we're receiving from the private hauler is a single stream. So therefore, it goes into one container. That's why our other containers are combined. But we are exploring the possibility of going the opposite route and then going back to a separated facility, so to speak.
There's a question right here, front.
Roger, this one's for you. Why do they transfer the mulch from across Lapham Road all the way to the transfer station?
So the question is, why does the mulch go all the way from Lapham back to the transfer station?
Fantastic question. It's multifaceted. The problem that we had was that when you have a very good thing, it becomes a problem. So we were leaving it outside our facility so people could come alongside the road and pick it up. What we were seeing was that landscapers were coming in, not even taking the excavator off the back of the trailer and emptying the entire load that we did into their dump truck and taking it for themselves. So in order for us to have it so that residents only could take it, we brought it to the transfer station. At that point in time, if you're a resident, you can come in and we can monitor it. Outside our facility, we couldn't monitor it, and people were abusing the privilege.
Can residents send the landscapers there?
We get that
Like if
question
you've
a
got
lot.
some-
We ask
yeah.
the resident to come with the landscaper so that we know it's staying inside the town.
Got it. Okay, back.
Quick question, just a lot of new products are now compostable, plates, serving dishes.
Great
Do they
question.
go into paper recycling, or do they
Yeah.
have to be composted?
All that compostable stuff, where does that go?
Oh, I hate compostable products. They don't go in. They're not plastic. They're not a polymer. They're usually made of some type of plant base. So it can't be baled with the same plastic. That's why we stay away from 1 through 7. Most of the time, they're actually not compostable. You have to have a very specific environment. It's got to be nice and hot, and then you have to have a commercial processor that is willing to take it. And most of our commercial processors are looking to what? Make money. The only way they make money is to make their product efficiently and fast. So they want to compost within 6 weeks. They don't want to wait 3 months for that compostable product to break down, so it will get rejected. So it's a waste of money to use it. How about we just use reusable material and not compostable material? Sorry, they're not in. They're out.
There was a question up here, the woman in the striped, Amara, right there.
Thanks. I have a few products I was wondering if you could comment on, a few items that you could comment on. So one is the Tetra Pak, and another is, well, you have a combined like packaging with paper and plastic where you can you rip off the paper and put that with your paper, and then plastic separately, even if it doesn't. So up until now, I've been following the 1 through 7 for plastic. I guess now I'm hearing I shouldn't do that because there's some plastic items that don't have that triangle symbol with a number, so I put those in the garbage. Say like if you get like a medicine that has a plastic casing with like paper around it and you can separate them, can you recycle the things separately? You understand?
Well, I mean, maybe it's a Murph thing. I mean, I have a comment. But go ahead.
So you're talking about particularly something, if it comes, it's like a cardboard back with a plastic casing on it. If you tear it apart, if it's recyclable.
Yeah, you can tear off the paper and then you have a plastic casing. That
Yeah, the chipboard portion is definitely, the cardboard portion definitely is recyclable. The plastic, it's dependent on the grade of makeup. I would say the rule of thumb is if you're in doubt about the makeup now, it's to throw it in the trash, but at least 50% of that is recyclable. So if you could peel the cardboard portion off and put it in the recycling, it's good to go.
And then, but the plastic, no? Or does it
Depending on
matter
the
if it has
makeup.
a symbol?
I mean, typically those don't have symbols on them or any kind of identification of what the grade is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's definitely not styrofoam, and it's definitely not a pliable plastic like a bag. So if it's separated, I would say yes, put it in the bin.
Put it in. And then how about in terms of the return to retail plastic bags? Say when you order clothing, it comes in a plastic bag with like a label on it. The plastic is completely clean. And then also like plastic mailers that like might have a packaging label, but it's like still plastic. Does that qualify those like stretchy bags that you can take to retail?
Well, the mailers are out, definitely out. Most of the time, the companies that are purchasing that plastic film, like Trex, they don't want plastic film or bags that have stickers on them.
On the handout here, it says, it says you can recycle film packaging with labels if you first remove them, the tape and adhesive
Remove
strips.
them, right? They don't want the label.
But the plastic itself
plastic
is okay.
itself, yes. as
Or
long
you
as
can use it for your dog. Robin?
So a lot
What
of
are 1 through 7?
all the fiber, the plastic, and maybe Mike should be answering this question, 1 through 7, and we're getting away from 1 through 7 because it's really an industry label, not for consumers.
So typically, every piece of plastic you pick up, if you look in the bottom, it has the triangle and a number inside of it. One's PET, two's usually HDPE. And we're typically moving away from the 1 through 7 label because you have styrofoam, which is PS number 6, which is out of the program. So you don't want to lead on and have a little misconception that just because it has a number and a triangle that it's okay to go in the bin. So I don't have to worry about 1 through 7. No, don't worry about it.
Just look at the what's in, what's out.
Exactly.
Okay, glasses, lady in glasses right there.
Yeah, if I have a food container that's glass with a metal lid, do I separate them, and then would the lid be too small, or can I put the lid on the glass, metal lid on the glass?
Recycle it with the lid on.
Lid on, even though they're two different substances.
They have a way to get the metal out through magnets.
Tom?
I get a paper envelope with a plastic bubble lining, and inside is probably a bottle of pills. So now I have essentially a clean paper envelope with this bubble lining. Is that in or out?
Are the paper envelopes with the bubble lining in or out?
So that's going to be out because it's like a 2-ply package. So it's plastic and paper combined. So that would be out.
And when you get a mailer like this, is this garbage? Can I just dump this as is? Do I have to separate the pieces of this junk mail for it to be recyclable?
For me, I treat that as junk mail. If you put it in the bin, we'll recycle it.
Okay. Okay, Hui? Okay, the question is if your hauler has a single bin, do you have an option to choose your own hauler?
You could use whatever hauler you choose to. There's no territory. But just I wanted to bring this up. Some of the haulers that do have single bins in the back of the truck do have side containers on the trucks. I just wanted to clarify that because some of them might be putting the trash in the back of the truck and maybe putting your recycling in a side bin, or vice versa. So that's just something to look at. But you could use whatever hauler you want.
Oh my goodness.
Used aluminum foil.
Used aluminum foil, is it recyclable?
So foil is in. Typically, we tell people, like a consumer had a good question about the yogurt foils. He asked if I bundle them with my other aluminum foil and get it over 3 inches, is it recyclable? And at that point, yeah, we will accept it. So you typically want to bundle your foil so it's over 3 inches in size. And your yogurt top cups, the aluminum ones, you can bundle those in with the foil as well.
Okay, we have a question.
A lot
right
of
here.
exceptions. He's really good.
Okay, question.
My question is, my husband and I are a caretaker couple on an estate in town. He used to get the stuff taken by a carting company. I don't know the name of the company. I can't guarantee it. However, he noticed he was throwing all the recycling right in with the garbage. So he started going to the dump himself, transfer station, whatever. But now he's noticed that the transfer station changed the rules in New Canaan so that all the plastic and paper.
So it's mixed recycling. Yeah, the question is, the transfer station in town is mixing all the recycling.
Is that like a bad thing?
Is that a bad thing?
Trying to separate
Tiger?
somewhere else, or?
No, that's just a single stream. If all of your recycling that they were talking about, what's in the bin, can all be combined into one bin. The fact that the hauler might have been combining household garbage and recyclables together, that's not a good thing. No.
So if it's all in the bin, it can take the glass, the plastic, the paper,
Correct.
Yes,
So
Krista?
maybe Mike can explain, I can do it too, but a material recovery facility where the material goes to, the paper fibers on the V-screen get tossed and get separated, and you can go on magnets and eddy currents. You can explain the whole process of what happens to each item.
So just for an example, you fill your bin up with everything on that What's In campaign that you ended here. It gets collected by the hauler. It goes to the New Canaan transfer station. It's put into a 40-yard container. And that material is trucked to our facility. So you come down, you look at the tip floor. To most people, it actually looks like a pile of trash. But to me, it's not.
After I dump it off, it's your problem?
Well, it's New Canaan's problem, then it's my problem.
Okay, Patricia, did you want to say?
If you're curious how the MRF works, you can go on YouTube and just search City Carting and Recycling, MRF, and a video will come up and it'll show you how we sort our recycling.
Okay, we have 2 questions left. Krista? So the question was about styrofoam, and could you elaborate on why it can or can't be recycled, and if there are any bans?
So the styrofoam, for me in my process, is not recyclable. It's similar to like a pliable bag at this point. The commodity itself, being source separated, they usually bring them to a handful of processors that'll shrink them down to like little cubes, and it's a recyclable item. But for me in my process, it's actually not recyclable.
So what it really comes down to is outlets. So we're in the Northeast, and in the Northeast, unfortunately, we don't have the same resources and outlets that other parts of the country have. There are places that are, like in Pennsylvania, they're recycling styrofoam. They have a processor who will take it, and it is cost advantageous for them to source separate it. It's very light material. The cost to transport it, it's not as efficient. But we don't have one in the Northeast, so therefore we can't recycle styrofoam. So we don't have an outlet, we don't have a buyer, no one's willing to buy it, to purchase it, to make it into something new. In regards to ban, there is some legislation right now on single-use carryout containers being styrofoam. If you support that concept, write to your state rep and tell them that you support it so that they will pass it.
Okay, one more question, right here. No, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the lady with glasses right there, yeah. Okay, the question for the tape is, she lives in a co-op, a condo, and the people who bring their recycling bring it in like a mixed bag of recyclables in a plastic bag tied up. Is that right or wrong?
So the preference for us would be to have the material be loose and actually have the bag not be in the bin at all.
Yeah, what happens when you put a bag in the bin?
So if you come to the facility, if any of you have ever been there, one of the first steps in the process is we have guys basically opening and loosening the material at all the bagged material.
The bags, I don't know if you remember in the video, the bags actually get caught in the machines. And it's really dangerous. These are like machines with big jaws, and they have real people going in there to cut these bags out. So that's why the bags need to go in a separate place. So we're going to leave it there, but I think our panelists are going to hang around a little bit if you want to come and talk, because there is, I know we still have so many questions. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Acme for providing refreshments. Thank you to New Canaan Library. And also just one announcement, Copia over in Vista from April 15th to the end of May. If you spend $75 on native pollinating plants, Copia will donate $10 in plants to the New Canaan Nature Center. So please check that out, and thanks everybody for coming today. Bye-bye.